Joining us now is Kachi Ophir with stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi. Catch it.
As usual, good morning, Dr. Batty.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Ifeni. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Kachi. I'm
Hello.
cool.
Fantastic. Hello, Adesuwa, stunning in red. Good morning to you, viewers.
Good morning, Kachi. I'm great, thank you.
Fantastic. Let's have a quick run through some of the stories that are trending across the globe. Now, is there a fire brewing? Nigerians seem to think so. We would get into the reactions to the meeting held in London between the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, Atiku Abubakar, the PDP governors, and of course, Peter Obi, who was also present. Then, the Japa phenomenon. It is a real thing, if we're being honest. However, NETDA boss Abike Dabiri believes that Nigerians are actually returning as opposed to leaving. Also on What's Trending today, would find out what happens when the roles reverse, as a viral video of a motorist harassing a police officer has sparked reactions. Finally, children are a blessing, but what happens when one cannot have them naturally? While the dispute between the religion and morality of IVF and surrogacy continues. Now let's begin. A picture, they say, is worth 1,000 words. More than 1,000 words in the viral picture of the meeting between the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and some governors of the party in London. Now, Atiku met with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and other PDP governors in London on Thursday. Others present at this meeting, aside from Atiku and Wike, were Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State, and his Benue State counterpart Samuel Otom. Well, the meeting began, of course, with former President Olusegun Obasanjo meeting with the presidential candidate of Labour Party, PDP, and, of course, the PDP governors in London, like I have just mentioned. Well, it was gathered that this meeting between the political leaders was centered around reconciliation and the need to move the major opposition party forward. Well, let's take a look at some reactions that Nigerians have dropped on this conversation. Now, this tweet says, whatever they're cooking, I'm sure Atiku or Tinubu will not like the taste. Wike is definitely on a revenge mission. Lines are certainly falling in place for Peter Obi. Ikpeazu is always the odd one out. I wonder why this person thinks so. Let's take a look at another tweet. Why is Atiku running to see Wike in London? I thought Mikano Boy said Wike is inconsequential in this election. I'm sure they must be hosting Twitter Spaces to discuss it like they did for WhatsApping yesterday. Ndinaucho, validation by all means to revive their dead image. We have another tweet which basically reads, Peter Obi and Wike are just stressing PDP out. PDP trying to be careful with Wike, but sooner than later, everything will burst. Obasanjo has always been their undoing for years now and continues to do so. Now, Omoyele Sowore had a completely different angle to this conversation. He said these are, with regards to the picture, special citizens of Nigeria earning maximum wage. The wages of these individuals meeting in London to decide your fate is way more than those of Nigerian workers in 10 states of the Federation in 1 month. In fact, the cost of private jet transportation to the UK is more than that of the education budget of some states in a year. Hashtag, we cannot continue like this. Now, this has been a conversation that has predominantly been a major one on the show this morning. And again, just for lack of reiterating statements that's just been made, how would you react to some of these reactions from Nigerians?
Okay, well, we commented on this earlier on.
Yeah.
And the issue has been, it will be interesting to know what the exact outcomes will be. Mm-hmm. One newspaper already reported that the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, agreed to all the demands by the Wike group. And we would like to know, what are those demands? Is the Wike camp insisting that Iyorchia Ayu must go? If Iyorchia Ayu goes, which is the irreducible minimum that we understand that the Wike camp is asking for, what will happen? Would that request, beyond the meeting with Wike in London, will it result in the expected outcome of the Wike camp? That's one question. Second, people have raised the question, what is the stake of former President Obasanjo in this matter? It's been reported that he's pushing for a Wike Peter Obi alliance. Some persons were quoted saying that would not work, that rather than work with Peter Obi, that Wike would rather work with Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC. If he does that, will not amount to anti-party activities. So these meetings in London raise a lot of questions, okay? But in terms of the optics, it's good to see them, smiling, some of them grinning from one end of the mouth to the other. So it's good, to see politicians trying to focus on what they define as interests, even if those interests are personal interests, rather than our own major Nigerian concerns. Then third, I raised the question about why London? Is it a demonstration of what Nigerians call colo mentality? Whatever meetings they want to hold could have been held in any part of Nigeria, and it will still have served the same purpose. But every time we see our leaders, if they have toothache, they must go to London. If they have, pain in the foot, they must go to London. And they are beginning to add other destinations to it. Spain, Turkey, France, London.
You didn't mention Dubai.
Oh, Dubai!
That's a very, very
Dubai
juicy
is like
destination.
a second home for many of our
Exactly.
leaders. But can they focus on the serious issues beyond these personal conflicts, beyond personal interests, beyond negotiation for position and all of that? And I cited the example of the conversation in the UK about who will be the next prime minister, about how the dominant issues are issues that affect everybody. And I think this day newspaper was very deliberate this morning by saying that Wike continues his search for relevance in London. No, the place to look for relevance is here in Nigeria, not outside. Whether Wike or Atiku or Peter Obi, here is where the battleground is.
Well, I'm not surprised that many of the Twitter users are talking about what looks like gallivanting by these political leaders and calculating the costs of private jets and all that. But Ruben, you asked that very relevant questions. I hope these governors are not using state funds for this gallivanting. Was it budgeted for? But of course, for Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, you can excuse them. They are private citizens. We assume that they are using their own money.
They should come and spend the forex in Nigeria. Let them come and spend the forex in Nigeria.
Yes, but as for Nyesom Wike, yes, he's seeking for relevance, but he has to make hay while the sun shines because, brides don't stay beautiful forever. So.
I don't know if I like that. Why were you looking at me when you said that?
No pun intended, Kachi. No pun intended. You are always beautiful.
Please,
you are always beautiful.
Well, let's bring Adesuwa
Talking
into
about
this
the proverbial beautiful bride, really.
Yes,
Not a beautiful bride to be like yourself. You always stay beautiful. And Adesuwa too, the queen. Before the women will come after me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Efrain. You almost got yourself into trouble with brides. But Kachi, thank goodness nobody's talking about the fashion. I mean, look at all of them in that picture, except for former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who maintained his traditional wear. We saw those governors in their T-shirts, in the long-sleeve shirts, the jeans and their pants. Thank goodness nobody's talking about that. They don't dress much like that here in Nigeria. But I think that Dr. Bati and Mr. Feni had said it all. For me, like I said earlier, it goes to show that when it comes to power sharing, there are no enemies or friends, just interests. It also calls to question, what is really the ideological difference? What's the difference between these political parties? You see a Peter Obi, you see an Atiku, you see a Bola Tinubu. They're all meeting. You even see a former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who is non-partisan, who does not belong to any political party, having meetings with these people. So what really is the difference? I think that's the question we should be asking ourselves as we prepare to go and vote. We need to look for the difference. Is the difference we're looking for? Yeah.
All right. Real quick, let's take a look at another story. Abike Dabire, the chairperson of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, says that despite the number of Nigerians aiming to leave the country, there is also a significant number returning to the country. Now, she spoke at a press briefing at the State House in Abuja on Thursday, and she cited a number of persons in the agricultural and healthcare sector coming into the country to invest and contribute to the development of the country. She also said that the commission is also making an effort to see that Nigerians in diaspora are allowed to vote. Now, she mentioned a hospital right here in Lagos, Nigeria, talking about how it was built by Nigerians in diaspora. They came home to build this. But what she failed to also mention was the immense investment that went into the cultivation of that same space. Now, there's been so many reports that's come out of Nigerians leaving. Between March 2022 and now, the number of nurses in the UK has gone up to 7,000 and over. Let's not even begin to talk about what Twitter users are calling the Great Resignation, where between the months of September and October, there will be a lot of job openings because people are leaving their job positions. So, I get where she's coming from, but we cannot deny that there has been a mass movement of professionals, quality professionals, out of the country because of the state of things at the moment.
Well, the chairman of the Diaspora Commission did not back our claims with statistics. It will have been nice to have, basic statistics in terms of the number of people who have left from the same health sector that she's talking about, and also, the education sector in particular. Universities having been shut down for over 190 days in Nigeria. We're told that many academics, have left the country, and that there is a massive brain drain going on in Nigeria, as you pointed out. But our point, beyond Japa, which is the slang that Nigerians use, people fleeing from the crisis in Nigeria, is that, look, she's saying that some people are also returning to come and invest here. Yes, in the healthcare sector, the hospital she's referring to is the hospital where the vice president was treated recently, and that's Duchess International.
Precisely.
And on this station, we've had reports by, I think, Adefemi Akinsanya on Reddington Hospital, which is also put together by brilliant, medical experts, who decided to come and invest at all. There's also Marcel Root Cancer Center, I think. I think Adefemi Akinsanya also did a report on that. Yeah, while there are people coming home, more people are running away. But the thing to note is the sociology of it. Many of these Nigerians who come back home, some of them end up with a lot of frustration. Some of them end up being kidnapped, like the professor that was kidnapped in the Abuja to Kaduna train incident. This was an expert that came from China to come and help researchers in Nigeria. He got kidnapped and he was and he was there for more than 50 days. That's another example of what people who come home go through. There are some people who are frustrated by the Nigerian system, and they have to rush back. So if you do a proper sociological investigation of the phenomenon in terms of the quantum of people coming and people going, you see that it's not as straightforward as the chairman of the Diaspora Commission has put it. However, the challenge is to make sure that there is an enabling environment here in Nigeria, in every sector, so that people will be encouraged to stay here. Experts from other countries will be motivated to also come and work here, as was the case in this country in the 80s. As for diaspora voting, yes, that's an issue that has been on the table since the return to civilian rule in 1999. And hopefully someday, Nigeria will address it.
Yeah.
Well, Abike Dabiri sounding very patriotic there. Highlighting those Nigerians that are returning. But the big picture is that more and more Nigerians with skills, with qualifications, are finding their way out of the country. Only a couple of days ago, it was reported that the banks are losing their IT specialists to the extent that it is now affecting their operations. They are leaving the banks, going outside the country to get better jobs. So if people were employed by banks, IT specialists are leaving. even despite the fact that we know that at least they are paid well by Nigerian standard, then imagine the rest of the populace, young Nigerians, who at the earliest available opportunity, they will jackpot. So there's no need to just quote this thing. Oh, they are returning. Clearly, there's a mass movement out of the country of skilled labor. And it is very unfortunate. We hope the next president will create an environment that will make Nigerians to stay and work at home.
All right, let's quickly take a look at the next story. Now, we often speak of police officers arresting offenders, right? Well, in this case, it is the exact opposite. A driver was filmed harassing a police officer who tried to arrest him for allegedly driving against the traffic. Now, in a viral video, which you can now see, the driver is seen pulling a police officer by the waist of his pants and dragging him towards his car. Now, I don't know I don't know if this is hilarious. Adeso, I want you to speak on this because you didn't speak on the last conversation. This is interesting. I'm curious as to what exactly is going on in this police officer's mind and why he's even allowing this happen to him.
And we must commend this policeman for exercising restraint. We have seen less confrontation lead to deadlier ends because he did have a pistol on him, but he didn't use it. So we commend him for his restraint. And we must begin to act serious if we want a sane society. Here, the policeman did nothing wrong because we were told that he was enforcing an arrest on a road user who was driving against traffic. And my question is, where is the NURTW? What is the function of the NURTW? It should not only be synonymous with violence crisis in Nigeria, or helping INEC during elections. That's not the only function for the NURTW. What sort of drivers do we have? Do they know their rights? Do they know traffic laws? Do they even know, what to do on the roads and what not to do on the road? This is pathetic. As a country, it is disgraceful to see a civilian dragging a policeman in such manner. It's heartbreaking. Are we really serious about the country we are having or we want to have?
Well, driving against traffic is an offense. Mm-hmm. And, oftentimes when law enforcement officers try to apprehend people who have violated traffic offense, they turn against them. It goes entirely the other way. Now, that kind of behavior should not be encouraged, mm-hmm. because everyone is expected to be lawful, to obey the law, and to stay under the province of the law. This particular police officer, in this case, trying to apprehend a man who had broken the law, now gets dragged. Well, I think he should be commended, mm-hmm. because in some other circumstances, look, he has a gun, he's wielding a gun, mm-hmm. but he was very patient. The man was dragging him, he wasn't resisting. Under other circumstances, that driver will have had his head broken, mm-hmm. with the gun, or he could have been shot. Mm-hmm. And we will have been here, we may not know the details, we will have been complaining about police brutality. So while we criticize the police for their excesses, motorists and other people who encounter the law must also behave like citizens, because citizenship comes with obligations, and those obligations include respect for the law.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that's as much as we can have on what's trending today. That's about it, and we will continue on the morning show tomorrow.